Hello, cash register fans. Today I'll be talking about what to look for in a low-end cash register that you would buy from a retail store. Even if you're looking for something simple, don't skimp on quality, and I will tell you what to look for and why you're looking for it. This register is a simple design, and you would find this one on the shelves of a retail store. The manufacturer thinks that you will not need professional help in order to program or use this register. This is not a dealer line register. The printer is for customer receipts only. There is no internal journal. The reason the journal roll is important is so you have a backup of all the sales that went through the register. Sometimes you need to look back to figure out what happened to previous sales. This register will not let you do that. It is unclear by looking at the picture if the register stores the journal report onto an SD card for later retrieval. It is important to note that the journal is different than the end-of-day report. The journal records all transactions and all commands. The end-of-the-day report gives you a summary of all sales. This register will do that. It is hard to tell from the picture, but I would guess that the drawer is plastic instead of steel. I come to this conclusion because the drawer is only slightly bigger than the register, and steel drawers are generally much larger. There are two advantages to a small drawer. One is that the register is light. If you are using this register to travel to shows, it is much easier to carry around. The second advantage is that it has a small footprint, good for when you don't have a lot of space. The disadvantages are that plastic drawers are vulnerable to breaking. If it falls off the counter, it's done. But even if you're careful, the weight of the coins in the tray and the constant opening and slamming of the tray puts micro cracks into the plastic, and it will eventually weaken it and sometimes break. And from what I'm seeing, it has something to do with how the tray latches in place when closed. If the plastic piece on the tray that holds the latch breaks, you can't fix it. You have to buy another register. The disadvantage to non-US users is that the insert that holds the money is usually molded into the tray and is designed to hold US dollars. Canadian dollars are just a little bit wider, so they don't fit in flat. When you are buying any register, make sure your bills fit into the bill slot. The mode switch is right below the display. It is a sliding switch. That tells me that any programming is very limited and, in my opinion, harder to program. You may need to be happy with the default program from the manufacturer. Because anyone can turn the switch to any position, you cannot secure the register. This register is for owner-operator only and is not if you have staff. The display is a single 7-line segment display. You're going to have to be aware of what you sold and what you want to do next. The display will tell you how much was sold and into what department, but only the last one. You will have a total of 16 departments, but there are 8 in the bottom level and 8 on the second level. Every time you want to access departments 9 to 16, you first have to press the department shift key. I think that's annoying. This register is really only good for 8 department categories. In conclusion, unless your business is to sell a few items at a trade show and you need something light, cheap, then this is an option. Otherwise, I would pass. This register shares a lot of the same characteristics as the first one. It has the same small plastic drawer with the receipt printer only, but it does have upgrades that make this a better register. It has a 2-line LCD display that makes it easy for you to see which department was pressed. You'll also find that it makes a huge difference when you are in programming mode. The register will be so much easier to program now that you can see the words you're trying to change. The mode switch in the top right requires a turn key instead of moving a switch over. This will give you more control over the security of the register. There are also more departments, at least 12, and the register might be quite capable of handling more than just 12 categories, and yet it is not any bigger than the last one. In summary, this is a better buy than the previous register. But keep in mind, this is still a low-end register, and you would buy this for low-use transactions. The upgraded display and mode switch is a big enough difference that you'd want to choose this register over the previous register. This is still a low-end register, and the drawer is still plastic, and the register has only a customer receipt printer. But it has a multi-line display, and that's a big improvement. The multi-line display means it'll be much easier to use now that you can use the up-down arrow keys to scroll to what you want the register to do. All of the options as far as programming and reports are now displayed on the screen, and all you need to do is use the arrow keys to pick the one you want. Single or dual line displays usually require that you enter in code numbers to run reports or change the program, whereas in multi-line displays usually means that all the options are available on the screen and you choose from the list as to what you want it to do. It's also become handy even during the sale. You can see past items entered. Now you can use the arrow keys to highlight the line you want to remove and remove it. Voiding items from the sale are much easier now. And again, you get more departments without increasing your footprint. This is a better register yet as far as low-end registers go, but the plastic drawer tells me it's for low-end use only. However, my assessment of the display is based on what I have seen out in the field, and does not necessarily mean that this register in particular allows for those options of choosing. Without even knowing anything about this register appears to have everything I'm looking for in a cash register. It has a good solid steel drawer. It has a dual printer for the receipt and for the journal. It has a large multi-line display, so that I know that using and programming this register is a lot easier. This is the kind of register I like to see and touch if I could. If it was online, I'd read over the brochure and verify that these three important characteristics are true. Also, I'd want to read the reviews. What are others saying about this model? One thing I will caution you in reading reviews is that cash registers can be complicated to program and tweak. Retail line registers usually have a 1-800 number to help you through this process. What you're looking for in the reviews are not comments like, "It's too complicated, I'm taking it back." You are looking for comments about the quality and ease of use. Flat keyboard models are uncommon to find as a retail line. Retail line registers almost always have raised keyboards. I'm not sure why. It may have something to do with the fact that either the flat keyboard costs more to make than the raised keyboard, or the manufacturer thinks that the program is going to be a little bit harder, and they don't want the extra tech support on their lines to help you out. Or maybe they figure that for what the flat keyboard is normally used for, there isn't a large enough market to justify it. Raised keyboards are generally used for retail, where you want different categories of items called departments, whereas flat keyboards allow you to put all the items that you sell on the keyboard. It's more for a food-based register, and has a protective sheet over the keyboard to protect the register from liquid spillage. If you're running a small restaurant or anything that can get the register wet, you want a flat keyboard. You may not find a flat keyboard in a retail line. You may only find it available as a dealer line register. That means one of two things. Either you buy this register from a dealer as a complete solution, which includes programming, training, and support. Most dealers are not interested in selling you just the register. They're interested in selling you a solution to your problem. The other possibility is that you will eventually find a dealer that will sell you whatever you want, as is, no work done. With dealer line registers, there are no 1-800 numbers to call. That was the job of the dealer, not the manufacturer. Unless you know what you're doing, cash register programming will overwhelm you. Cash registers are not like other pieces of electronics. There's a lot to know, and you might even need a special dealer key in order to do certain programming. They are assuming that the dealer is going to set this up for you. As a final note, You can get protective keyboard covers for raised keyboards too. If you're using this register where there are liquids or sticky substances that can fall on the register, like ice cream or pop. I'm sure that many of you have found this video informative, with the information that you never even thought of before. Many small business owners do choose their cash registers from a general retail store, or they order online only seeing a picture of it first. Now you know what to look for. However, I do encourage you to reach out to a local cash register dealer to help you in making your decision. Do what you do well, and let your local cash register dealer do what they do well. You'll be glad that they did. Leave your comments and questions below, and I will answer them in a future video. And as always, I am Larry Jenkins, and I make the hard easy to understand.